Very good morning, students. Let's welcome to VAYU News IAS Analysis of 1st July 2026. Now, quickly, let's get into the today's Hindu newspaper articles. So, the first article for today is concerning about tipping points, climate tipping points. So, this article is mentioning about tipping points. So, this concept is very important with respect to environment and disaster management, especially in GS3. Now, in order to understand this particular article, we need to have basic knowledge on what are these tipping points. First and foremost, tipping points refers to these are the maximum threshold where change of these particular conditions will automatically leads to formation of or altering into new systems of lifestyle, etc. So it is like maximum capacity of the environment and nature before that is being transitioned into new form of system. This particular concept is called as the tipping points. So these tipping points, they serve as the early warning systems. So it acts as the early warning systems to humans that environment is going to change and there will be huge impact on the people, biodiversity, flora, fauna, everything. So these are like early warning signs. Now, what this article is concerning about? So this article is concerning about the term tipping points. Like first and foremost issue that is present is that uncertainty regarding the definitions of these particular tipping points. The definition of tipping points where all the countries are not being agreed to this. Why? Because in some of the countries, tipping points gives sudden effects on the environment, while some countries predict that these tipping points will have slow effects like millions of years. This will show effect after millions of years. So this is the main thing or the main difference in ideology between different countries is being projected in this particular article. So timelines. So uncertainty in the timelines is one of the major issue that is being projected here. And one more issue that is projected here is that misinformation regarding this particular tipping points where there is no proper agreement between different countries. So there is no proper agreement between different countries with respect to definition of this particular tipping points. So this is what the main gist of the article that is being highlighted here. Now, before going to understand, we need to have basic knowledge on number of tipping points. So, one more issue that has been projected here, you need to highlight that the authentic source of information. So, whether the information that is being gathered here in order to define tipping points, is that source is correct or not. So, from where the data or the source is being got and the identification of that data is also one of the issue that is being highlighted here. So, before going to this, we need to have basic knowledge like number of tipping points till now. So, till now, there are 16 tipping points that has been identified, in which 9 are global tipping points. So, 9 tipping points are global tipping points, whereas 7 tipping points are regional tipping points. So, in total, there are 16 tipping points that has been identified. Now, let's say for example, some of the global tipping points include melting of the Arctic ice sheet, melting of the Greenland ice sheet comes under global tipping points, whereas examples of regional tipping points include monsoon failure, or also irregular and infrequent occurrence of the monsoons regarded as monsoon failure, and also conversion of Amazon forests into savanna grasslands. So, these are examples of the global and also regional tipping points. Now, in this perspective, this is what we can get from this particular article, but from the mains point of view, we should make analysis on how this impacts India. So, impacts on India because of this change in the tipping points. Now, first and foremost is that, as we already discussed, one of the tipping points is that alteration or infrequent occurrence of the monsoons. So, since monsoons are the lifeline of a nation, because many number of people, let's say farmers and many industries, those industries depends upon the rainfall, especially from the monsoons for a country like India. So, because of this tipping point alteration, the first and major effect is the impact on monsoons. And along with this, there are other impacts of tipping points changes on India. Especially what happens is that these monsoons will create other indirect effects on, let's say, economy, since failure or reduction in the crop production will automatically impacts on the economy, and also it will lead to mass disasters. Let's say people suffer from drought and also hunger. So this is having alternate and cyclic impact. Let's say tipping points, those are altering monsoons, those are altering disasters, leading to damage to the lifestyle. So, you need to write in this particular cyclic format while you are mentioning about this effects of tipping points. And one more thing is that it will cause rise in the sea level. So, rise in the sea level is one of the major impact of these tipping points, especially for country like India, where the number of cities which are on the coast side, let's say Mumbai. So, these kind of cities, they have possibility of submergence under the sea level because of these tipping points. So, this is how you must relate tipping points with respect to general environmental perspective and linking it with economical and social perspectives. So, this is what you need to highlight from this particular article. And along with these kind of things, there will be loss or damage to sensitive ecosystems. Let's say sensitive ecosystems like Western Ghats are present, and it is a home for large number of species. Now, because of these tipping points and changes on the effect of sensitive ecosystems, biodiversity also will get affected. So, this is what you should understand from this particular article. Okay, so you need to understand what are tipping points, how many tipping points are there, and what are the concerns regarding tipping points are being highlighted in this particular article, and also impact of these tipping points particularly on a country like India depending upon its location. Now, the thing is, we also need to highlight the solutions, or what are the steps that we need to take combiningly, like, so steps or solutions that needs to be taken care of is that the first and foremost thing what we need to take care of is that all the countries must agree to the common definition and also the common timeline. Agree to common definition and also common timeline with respect to these tipping points. So there must be universally related definition of this particular tipping points must be identified. And also major important thing is that we must need to take the efforts combiningly instead of taking the efforts in the isolated manner in order to prevent the occurrence of these particular effects of these tipping points. So the world needs to have united approach instead of having separate approaches for different countries in order to solve these issues. This is what we need to highlight from this particular article. Now, let's see the importance of this particular article in the prelims and mains point of view. So, in the prelims point of view, what you need to understand from this article is that definition of tipping points, and also here in this perspective, they will give 4 definitions where you need to identify the exact definition which it suits to tipping points, and also different tipping points, and also the tipping points that are directly or indirectly related to country like India. Country like India. So this is what you must learn from this particular article regarding the prelims point of view. And in the mains point of view, what you need to highlight from this particular article is that the misinformation and also the issue of timelines with respect to these tipping points must be identified in the mains point of view, and also you need to highlight the impacts of tipping point. Remember, because the impacts of tipping point does not affect that particular region alone. It has a cyclic effect on various other countries and across various parts of the globe. Let's say there is one of the tipping point called alteration of ocean currents, especially Atlantic Meridional Ocean currents. Now, alteration of this particular ocean current is linked to all the other ocean currents across the world. Why? Because this is one of the biggest and important ocean currents that influence the various systems, let's say monsoons of India, and also ocean temperature. Monsoons of India and also temperature of the ocean. As temperature of the ocean gets influenced, it will automatically have impact on the occurrence of the cyclones. So, this particular impact you need to analyze on global level. On global level. And also try to draw diagrammatic representation. Diagrammatic representation in a cyclic way. So this is what we need to understand from this particular article. Okay, so this is from prelims point of view and this is from mains point of view. Now let's get into next article. So the next article that is being mentioning about the integrated climate action. It is mentioning about the integrated climatic action. So the article what we have discussed is in relation with this particular action, this particular article. So this article is mentioning about integrated climatic action. Instead of taking the actions in a isolated way, the actions must be taken in integration with each other. The main issues what are being highlighted in this particular article is that the effects of these particular climate change are not equal. Not equal, and they varies between person to person and also country to country, especially here at region to region, like one urban to rural area also. So the effects of these changes in the climate are being highlighted in this article, where it is having different kind of results and also different kinds of effects on people across the world. Let's say, for example, the main thing what it has highlighted in this particular article is that impacts of climate change on the people, especially who lives in slums in the urban areas. So let's say, for example, India holds one of the largest percentage of people who are living in the slums, especially around 7%. Now, any issue or any change in the climate action, these slum people and also the other people are mostly gets affected when compared to people who are having a stable lifestyle and also secure lifestyle. So this is what being identified in this particular article. Let's say, for example, here they have given some of the conditions. Let's say, because of the climate change, or take example of any biological thing, let's say occurrence of these India's past experience of COVID-19. So in this corona, like the most affected people are the people who are poor and also whose lifestyle is not up to the mark. So because what happens is they lack proper health care. So proper health care is not being available to all of them, and also they are mostly out of the social security benefits. So lacking of social protection is one of the major issue that is being highlighted. Why? Because most number of people, they work in the informal sector and also they work in the menial jobs like cleaning of this septic tank, all these kind of things. Now, because of these particular things, what happen is that lack of social security benefits, and which is leading to lack of social protection. And along with that, there is also failure of government in this. Let's say lack of creation of proper public infrastructure. So public infrastructure is not being created properly, which is also leading to the harmful effects on a certain type of people, especially who are bearers to this particular changes in the climate thing. Now, this is seen as the problem of urban governance also. Why? Because this is not only sole contributor because of the anthropogenic actions, but this is also because of the failure of the government in creating the proper urban government structures. So this is what it has been highlighted in this particular article. Now we need to see the solutions for this. So the solutions, what we need to highlight is that in this particular point of view is that solutions are steps that needs to be taken is that special care must be provided to the people who are in the vulnerable phase. Let's say, for example, providing employment opportunities to them. Okay, so in these employment opportunities also providing social security benefits to these particular people, and also improving the infrastructure of the urban. Let's say, for example, take example of the metro. So improvement of these public transport structure has made the lives of many people easy. Why? Because low transportation costs, and they can live in the areas where low amount of rent is there, and they can transport easily by using the metro. So this is how impact of public infrastructure exists. And also government must invest. Government must invest in creating the public infrastructure and also in developing the lives of these particular people. And along with this, what we need to mention is that improvement in the various aspects. Let's say improvement in the public healthcare system, where here you can use and integrate with the Ayushman Bharat. Ayushman Bharat and Ayushman Bharat health cards, all these things you can integrate here, where you can integrate this point of view directly with respect to the question regarding the healthcare system. And along with that, you need to concentrate majorly on the infrastructure development. Now, this is what changes need to be taken from the government perspective and also from the society perspective. Now, remember, each and everything starts at the individual level. So, from the individual perspective, what are the things that we need to take care is that from the individual perspective, we need to follow healthier approach, life approach, where each and every individual has a responsibility. Each and every individual has a responsibility towards achieving the climate efficient goals and everything, and we need to implement the plans. We need to take care of the knowledge and also we need to integrate the good amount of the positive things, especially from the developed countries. Let's say, for example, if any country is being used advanced technologies or some kind of welfareistic measures, especially for the people who are living in these regions, we must take care of that particular things. Also, so importing that particular technology. Now, the thing is that we need to have common but differentiated responsibilities, where some people are getting affected only a little bit, while other people are getting affected to the large extent. So climate actions and also financial actions need to be occur from the people who are less affected to the people who are more affected. So this kind of common but differentiated responsibilities, especially in providing finance, is also one of the solution that we need to mention for this particular concern. So this article majorly regarding the integrated climatic action, what each and every country needs to be taken in order to protect the people who are vulnerable to most of the climatic changes. Now, what we should learn from the prelims point of view. So, from the prelims point of view, here also we need to understand basic things. Let's say, for example, here you can integrate with the climate tipping points by relating with this. So, the basic knowledge on climate tipping points and also various agreements and various things what India has been agreed in the COP. So, static information about COP. Okay, so which COP and where it has been taken place and what are the major goals and especially what India has agreed in that particular goals. Now, in the mains point of view, you need to highlight some of the data and facts regarding the vulnerabilities of the people, especially who are living in these areas, and also the steps that has been taken by India, where in order to improve the conditions and social security measures, where here you can also use the labor codes, changed labor codes also you can integrate with the GS3 here. So, also learn about some of the best practices of the world. Let's say, for example, in the occurrence of the times of the earthquake, we can take the advancements in the Japan's earthquake prevention technology. So those kind of things also you can integrate, where you can add in your examples. So this is what you need to learn from this particular article in the prelims and the mains point of view. Now let's get into next article. Next article, this article is regarding the monsoons. this article is regarding the monsoons. As we all know, monsoons is nothing but occurring of a seasonal reversal of winds. Seasonal reversal of winds. Now, in this particular article, it is concerning about deficit of the monsoons. As I already told you, monsoons are nothing but lifelines of a nation, especially country like India, because of its strategic location. Now, before going to understand, see, this article is only telling about monsoon deficit, nothing to learn from this particular article. Now, the main thing is that we need to learn about the static regarding the occurrence of the monsoon, like what are the types of monsoons, break in the monsoons, all those kind of things. Now, let's discuss on the static portion. Now, the major thing is that India has been located in the strategic area where Indian Ocean is present. Now, what happens is that heating of the main reasons for the occurrence of monsoon is that heating of the Central Asian and North India, especially the Tibetan Plateau. Now, this heating will automatically creates low pressure in the summer season, and here in the Indian Ocean, here high pressure is being created. Now, as air moves from high pressure to low pressure, so this winds gets transition to central India. So, this is one of the main reason. So, differences of heating of land and water, differential heating of land and water is the one of the major reason for occurrence of monsoons. And along with that, now because of this thing, ITCZ, Intertropical Convergence Zone, will shift its position from equator to around this particular thing. So, around near the equator, around 5 degrees to, it will shift the position to the central of the India and the above of the India. So, this shift in the ITCZ is also one of the reason for occurrence of the monsoons. And along with this, tropical eastern jet streams. So, these tropical easterly jet streams, after they are being transferred from this particular ocean and crossing equator, it becomes the southwest monsoon. So, jet streams is also one of the factors that are contributing to the monsoons. Now, you need to understand some of the basic terms like monsoon trough and also monsoon break. So, monsoon trough is nothing but the region where monsoon is being occurring. So, the place where monsoon gets shifted because of the shift in the ITCZ, and that is called monsoon trough. And monsoon break is nothing but failure of monsoon in that particular year. So, in that particular year, on that particular place is called as failure of monsoon, is called as monsoon break in that particular year. Now, before going to understand, we need to have, this is what the basic structure or the reasons of the monsoon. Now, we need to understand some of the other static things regarding the development of the monsoons. The first and foremost thing, what we need to understand is that branches of the, there are two monsoons, southwest monsoon and also northeast monsoon. Now, let's discuss about the southwest monsoon. So, in the southwest monsoon, there are, in the southwest monsoon, especially there are two branches. One is Arabian branch and other is the Bay of Bengal branch. Now, in the Arabian branch, what happens is that there are three ways. One is the Western Ghats. These winds first encounter with the Western Ghats and give heavy rainfall to this region of the Western Ghats, whereas the other region of the Western Ghats is rain shadow region, where there is minimal or no occurrence of the rainfall. And this particular region opposite side of this Western Ghats is known as the rain shadow region. This is the first where the monsoon gets hit. And one more thing is the Arabian branch is that it will hit the Mumbai, coast of the Mumbai. Okay, and Narmada Tapati region. And the third one, it will hit exactly at the Saurashtra. So these are the three things or three places where Arabian branch or monsoon especially gets hit. Whereas in the Indian Ocean region, the monsoon gets hit with especially these Arkan hills of the Myanmar, where it gets splitted into one that is affecting in the northeastern region of India and Myanmar, along with Myanmar, and one more region that getting affected in the Indo-Gangetic plains. So these are the two things or two separations in which Indian Ocean region branch will concern. So one is Arabian branch and another is the Bay of Bengal region branch, and it has three splits and it has two splits that are being affected. So this is how in the central part of the India of the Indo-Gangetic plains, these Arabian branch and the Bay of Bengal branch gives heavy rainfall. So this is what you need to understand from this particular article, especially southwest monsoon. Now, with respect to this northeast monsoon, what happens is that not all parts of the country receive, only southern states, especially Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and this Tamil Nadu, they will receive majorly maximum amount of the rainfall, and this happens especially in the months of the November and December, where large amount of cyclones are being developed in this particular region because of the northeast monsoon. So this is what the basics of monsoon, what you should learn. Okay, what is monsoon and what are the reasons for occurrence of monsoon, terms regarding monsoon like monsoon trough and monsoon break, and also different branches of the monsoon. So this is what the static knowledge you need to have. And along with this, you can also quote the impact of El Nino. The impact of El Nino on failure of the monsoons. In the one of the previous news analysis, I have mentioned you about the El Nino, where warming of the Eastern Pacific Ocean occurs, where it will result in failure of the monsoons. Monsoon failure will occur because of this particular El Nino. So, while writing about any kind of monsoon, you must also mention about this El Nino, which occurs once in 2 to 7 years, which bring droughts to India because of lack of rainfall. So this is how you should integrate with the monsoons, El Nino and everything. This is what the static knowledge you need to have. Okay, now let's get on to next article. So the next article here, it is mentioning about sovereign AI. It is mentioning about sovereign AI. So, since we are observing from past 1 week, the articles on AI are being occurring daily. So, AI is the topic that is in news daily. So, what you need to do is that in your newspaper book, at least allocate 2 to 3 pages, especially for the AI. And regarding the articles that occur throughout the month or after 2 months, 3 months, you need to write only these particular articles at those 2 to 3 pages where you kept in isolation for the artificial intelligence especially. Now, regarding this sovereign AI, what you need to understand is that instead of dependence on other countries, especially with regards to development and also with regards to infrastructure, every country needs to have its own infrastructure and its own development capabilities in order to develop AI, and then it is called, then a particular country is said to be having sovereign capacity with respect to AI. This is what the term sovereign AI means. Every country must have capable infrastructure and the technological capabilities in order to get advanced in the artificial intelligence. Now, the thing that is being highlighted in this particular article is that is giving example of Indian pharma, where India is called pharma of the world. Pharma of the world, and pharma or medicines is being prepared from API. So this API are the basic materials or the basic things where the medicines are being prepared, active pharmaceutical ingredients. Now, India is actually pharma of the world, but in order to manufacture those materials, we need API. Okay, but these active ingredients, we are depending on China. We are depending on China. Around 65 to 68% of API are being imported, especially only from China. So it is mentioning that by quoting example of the pharma industry, even though the country is having excelling, so the country is getting excelled in various other kinds of fields, especially like pharma, we are lacking in the basic materials like APIs with respect to this pharma sector that is being highlighted in this particular article. Now, in this regard, what it is mentioning is that now each and every country, here you need to highlight one of the term called techno-nationalism. So you need to highlight the term called techno-nationalism, where each and every country, they are concentrating in order to develop the technological capacity on their own instead of depending upon the other countries. In the previous days, the world is a globalized world, but now what happened is that each country is developing the technological advancements, everything on their own instead of depending upon the other countries because of the nature of the present countries, like disruption of the supply chain and also occurrence of the wars and everything. Now, here the major thing, one more article it is being highlighted is that Europe is going intensively through buy European. Means instead of importing from other countries, buy European, where they are promoting their own products excessively in usage instead of other things. Now, what we need to learn from this particular article is that India's IT industry is one of the major and developed industry across the world. Now, what we need to do is that we need to leverage the demographic dividend that is being present in India and also the infrastructure that is being present in India in order to develop the technological capabilities of the people. Technological capabilities of the people in order to develop. So, we should reduce the dependence on other countries. We should reduce the dependence on other countries. But for this, what is the major thing what India is lacking is that India is spending only 0.5% of GDP in the R&D, research and development wing. India is spending only 0.65% of the GDP in the whole year. And here the author is comparing the spending of the author is comparing here the spending of this R&D with respect to OpenAI. This OpenAI company is alone spending around $50 billion in R&D in a particular year. Okay, in a particular year, it is spending around $50 billion, especially in the R&D, whereas India's GDP spending on R&D is only 0.65% of the GDP. And this is one of the major problem when compared to the other countries. And one more problem is that even in this spending of 0.65% of GDP on R&D, the participation of the private sector is very, very low. So, the private sector participation is also very, very low. So, that is what the major drawbacks why India is facing. And in the previous before days articles also we have discussed that India has the basic capabilities and India has started early when compared to other countries. But the major thing is that we are not aware or we are not able to scale into a fully developed competition at the global level. That is what we are lacking in. So here, this is what we are mentioning about, where the concentration of the private sector in R&D is very low or minimal, that is around 1/3. And also along with these, the spending on R&D at the global level is at most low. These are the major reasons why India is still depending on other countries and not able to scale, even though we have the utmost technological capabilities and the demographic dividend. That is what being identified in this particular article, the problem that is being discussed here. Now, what are the solutions for this particular problem? So, there are some of the solutions for this particular problem, especially what we need to do is that we need to have partnerships with other countries while developing or receiving any kind of technological developments. Along with that, what we need to have is that private participation must be increased. Let's say for example, even like after around 75 years of independence, space sector is fully concentrated in the public sector and it was being opened to private sector recently, like after many years of independence. So here, this R&D sector, especially in the critical areas, must be open to private sector, where government will concentrate on the core areas and the peripheral areas, and the investment are being concentrated and taken care by the private sector. So, it is highlighting the role of the private sector and also increase in the investments. Okay, so we can use some of the basics of the, like we can use public-private partnership. Public-private partnership, where we can use different kinds of models in order to develop. So this concept of sovereign AI is must and should be developed for the country in the developing ways. Why? Because in future, entire world runs on the artificial intelligence and India needs to compete at the global level. So for this purpose, we need to have private participation and also increase in the spending of the R&D. Now, what we should learn from this particular article is that in the prelims point of view and in the mains point of view. So, in the prelims point of view, they may ask you or give the statements. Let's say India's R&D spending is around, let's say 1.2% of GDP. So, you must give whether it is right or wrong. So, you must point it as wrong because it is around 0.65% of the GDP. And these kind of important data and facts must be remembered for the, especially for the prelims point of view. Some important facts, not all, some important facts. And along with that, you need to have knowledge on the basic terms like sovereign AI. And in the previous class, we also discussed about the terms called emotional AI, where AI system working basis of the emotions that the person is being changed, especially in the driverless cars and also in the automated driver assistance cars. And along with this, we need to have basic knowledge on the terms like ethical AI. So this is what we should learn in the prelims point of view. And in the mains point of view, highlight the issues like low spending of R&D in GDP and also low private sector participation, where you can link it with the GS3 economics part regarding the public private participation, where it have scope in the investment in the artificial intelligence can also be highlighted. So this is what you must learn from this article in the prelims and the mains point of view. Now let's get into next article. So the next article here, it is mentioning about these companies, especially these Ferrari and BMW, and along they joined with Tesla in order to switch to aluminium from the copper. So the main thing what it is mentioning is that shift from copper to aluminium. So this article is useful only in order to mention about self-sufficiency of India, where you can use it in GS3 and also in geography, especially in the GS1, where you can use it in the mineral contribution and also mineral distribution in India. Now, let's say the major issue here the world is facing right now is the shortage of copper. So in the process of manufacturing of EVs, in wiring especially copper wiring, it is being shifted into aluminium. Okay, it is being shifted into aluminium. Now, what we need to discuss is that, especially from the prelims point of view, just know the basic content here. What it is mentioning is shifting from copper to aluminium. So, from the prelims point of view, what you need to read in this is that bauxite. Bauxite is the aluminium is not available directly and it is refined via the ore of aluminium, that is bauxite is the ore of the aluminium. And which states has a major presence of bauxite is that Orissa. So Odisha is the top state in production of bauxite, and also along with these other states like Chhattisgarh and AP also have some minimal amounts of the bauxite reserves. So the ore of aluminum that we need to learn about bauxite, and also top states in production of the aluminum and bauxite. All these things we need to understand from this prelims perspective. Now in the mains perspective, the main thing what we need to understand is that India is self-sufficient in the production of aluminum. That is, India is holding second place in the production of aluminum, especially 6%. Around 6% of world's aluminum production is being done by the India. So this fact you must remember and understand in the prelims point of view. And also here, one more issue you can highlight is that advantages for a country like India, since it is self-sufficient in the production of the aluminium. So you can quote this as dependence of other countries, especially on India. Why? Because if you see, India is depending upon the other countries like China, especially with regard to critical minerals. Now you can quote the, since shifting of this particular industry from copper to aluminium, you can highlight the role of the India, since it is having the highest amount of the aluminium resources. It's the second highest. Now, the one of the major thing what you need to highlight is that you need to mention not normal aluminium, you can also mention about green aluminium that is in use and where India is about to transition, because you can link it with the environment, especially GS3 paper. Instead of transitioning into aluminium, it is better to transition, and where India is concentrating especially on the green aluminium. So green aluminium, it is nothing but the production of these aluminium instead of emissions, production of emissions, we are promoting and producing it directly from the green way instead of developing from the emissions. So this is what in an environmentally friendly way. So production of aluminium in the environmentally friendly way is called as the green aluminium. So you can highlight this particular green aluminium, and also the facts regarding India is holding second largest production capacity with respect to aluminium. These two things you must be highlighted in this particular article. So this is what you should learn from the prelims point of view and also from the mains point of view. This is the small article where you can link with the GS2 and the GS3. Okay, so these are the articles which you need to understand in the prelims and the mains point of view for today's news analysis. Okay, so please follow and please mention, you must know before reading that article, you must be aware of what points should I include in that and what points should I exclude from that particular article, and what points should I take it and note down in my newspaper notes must be noted down from these articles. And this is about today's newspaper analysis. Please like, share and subscribe to VAYU IAS Academy, and thank you.